Hey, and welcome back. Before we dive in, I just want to let you know this story might feel a little more toned down than usual. That's because I've been working on a new way to keep the stories as detailed and immersive as ever, while also making sure they stay fully safe for the platform. This video is just a one-time adjustment while I figure that out. It's not a new direction, and it's not going to become the norm. Thanks for being here, and for supporting me through every story, even the experimental ones. Now let's begin. I saw everything from the kitchen window. His wife was screaming, arms, flailing, voice sharp enough to pierce 2 floors of brick. He just stood there, hands half raised like he'd already given up arguing. She pointed toward the car, shouted something I couldn't quite hear, then slammed the door and sped off like the tires were supposed to hurt him. She didn't even let him grab a coat. I watched him linger by the curb, shoulders sinking as the sound of the engine faded. He looked around like he wasn't sure where to go next. I didn't wait for him to knock. I opened my door and stepped into the hallway before he even made it to the stairwell. "Hey," I said casually, like I hadn't just watched his marriage hit the pavement. "You okay?" He stopped, tried to smile, and failed. "Yeah, just Ronite thought." So he glanced toward his unit down the hall, then back at me. "I'll be out of her place tomorrow. Probably just crash in the empty one for her." Well, that's when I leaned on the frame, crossed my arms, and tilted my head. "It's not ready. Pipes are still a mess over there. Just come in for the night." He hesitated, not out of pride, more like habit, like he didn't want to impose, but he was tired. I could see it in the way his shoulders didn't come all the way back up, so I stepped aside and let the silence invite him in. The lights were soft, the couch was clean. I grabbed a blanket from the hall and tossed it down, like I hadn't already planned for this. "I've got tea or something stronger." He offered, already reaching for mugs. "Tea's fine," he muttered, sinking into the cushions. I handed him the cup and sat across from him like it was normal, like I hadn't imagined this exact moment a dozen different ways. "You can stay here tonight," I said gently, "till you figure things out." He nodded, took a sip, then set the cup down with both hands, like it gave him something to hold on to. He didn't say thank you. He didn't have toes. I stood to head to my room. I caught the way his eyes followed me, quick, then gone, like he didn't mean to look, but he did. And that was enough to tell me I hadn't made a mistake. The house was quiet after midnight, but I didn't sleep. I just laid there listening, the faint creak of the couch, when he shifted, the soft scrape of ceramic, when he set his tea down. The occasional sigh, long steady like he was, trying not to feel too much at once, as stayed in bed for almost an hour before. I gave up and padded into the kitchen. The hallway light caught the edge of his face. He was awake, sitting up, one arm over the back, rest like he hadn't moved in a while. "You good?" I asked softly, pretending to reach for water. He turned toward me, eyes a little red. "Yeah, just thinking." I nodded, leaned against the counter. "Sorry, if the couch is stiff, I should have offered you the bed." He blinked like he wasn't sure how to take that. I smiled to make it sound like a joke, but I didn't take it back. He didn't respond right away, just watched me over the rim of his glass. I wasn't wearing much, just a long shirt that hung too low to be accidental. When I turned to get something from the fridge, I didn't rush to pull it down. "You sure this isn't too much trouble?" he asked, still watching. I closed the door gently, grabbed my glass, and walked over, not too close, just a few feet from the couch. "If it was, you'd be somewhere else." He gave a small nod and looked away, but not before I caught it, that flicker of something behind the "thank you," that little pause that says, "I see what you're doing, and I'm not running." I took a slow sip and met his eyes again. "Try to get some rest," I said, turning toward the hallway. "You're not going anywhere tomorrow." As I passed the edge of the couch, my hand brushed lightly against the back of his shoulder, just enough to make him notice, not enough to be called anything. I didn't look back, but I didn't walk quickly either. I didn't hear him get up, but I felt it, that quiet shift in the house, like someone was trying to move, without being heard a soft creak near the hallway. Then stillness. A few seconds. Later I saw him in the doorway, barefoot shirt, wrinkled eyes, unsure. "You're up early," I said, keeping my voice low. I was sitting on the bed, coffee and hand legs tucked beneath me. The curtains were open just enough to let in the first light. He rubbed the back of his neck. "Didn't sleep much. Couch will do that to you." He gave a weak smile, then looked like he was about to turn back. "Around you can sit if you want," I added. Before he could leave, he hesitated just for a second, then stepped in and sat at the edge of the bed, careful to stay on top of the blanket like he wasn't sure what the rules were now. I handed him my extra mug. He took it with a quiet thanks and a glance that lingered just a little, too long before he looked away. "I wasn't sure if you'd be here this morning," he said. "Where else would I be?" He shrugged. "After last night, I don't know. Felt like maybe I crossed a line. You didn't." That hung in the air for a moment. He looked down into the mug like it might have something else to say. "You didn't make me uncomfortable?" I added, not even close. He nodded slowly, lips pressing together like he wanted to say something, but wasn't sure if he should. I let the silence stretch before I reached out and rested my hand on his, not forceful. Just enough to let him know he could stay. He looked at me, really. Looked, and this time he didn't turn away. He didn't pull his hand away. Not even when my thumb traced the side of his knuckle. It was small, barely anything. But I felt him lean into it like his. But he answered before he could. "I don't want to make this complicated," he said, quietly still watching me. I tilted my head. "Then don't." He let out the kind of breath people only release when they've been holding it in for hours, maybe longer. "You sure?" he asked. I didn't answer with words. I just shifted, closer on the bed, folded one leg over as and brought our hands to rest between us. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched me like he was waiting for a reason not to. I didn't give him one. I leaned forward slowly until our foreheads touched. His eyes closed mine. Didn't. I wanted to see his face when I finally let go. His hand slid up to my waist, tentative at first, then more certain. When I didn't stop him, I reached for the hem of his shirt. Not to take it off. Not yet, just to feel the warmth of skin, where fabric ended. We didn't rush. We didn't say anything else. We didn't have to. I laid back, keeping my hand in, his pulling him with me. "You can stay," I whispered, but not on the couch. And that was all it took. The second night felt nothing like the first. There was no couch this time, no tea, no small talk, just the quiet rhythm of our breathing in the dark, the warmth of him beside me, and the kind of silence that made everything feel louder. He was lying on, his side close enough that I could feel his presence through the stillness. We hadn't touched yet. Not in any real way. Just the kind of closeness that lingers. With intention, I turned toward him. Slowly, the mattress shifted beneath me. Just enough that his hand brushed my hip. He didn't move it. Neither did I. Instead, I reached up and ran my fingers lightly along his jaw, letting them rest at the back of his neck. He met me halfway, pressing his forehead to mine like we had that morning. But this time he stayed there longer. His hand moved gently to the small of my back, his touch slow and careful. There was no urgency, only patience. Like this was a moment we both understood had been coming. Our lips met quietly, not in a rush but with full intention. My hand slid to his chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath his skin. I leaned in a little more, my breath brushing against his neck, and he answered with a soft exhale that made me close my eyes. I shifted to lie fully against him, our bodies aligned naturally, his arms wrapped around me, holding me, just enough to make the moment feel grounded. There was no force, no questions, just a sense of being exactly where we were meant to be. We moved together, In stillness, slow, steady, and close, no sound, but the subtle shifts of the bed beneath, and the quiet pull of breath between each touch. I brushed my lips along his collarbone, his shoulder, the edge of his jaw. Every motion deliberate, every second, allowed to stretch his hands move gently along my back, across my waist, pausing now and then like he was reading. A story written into my skin. I let him, I wanted him to take his time. The city light slipped through the curtains, casting faint patterns across his chest, along the soft shape of my arm as it moved over him. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. And when everything finally slowed again, it wasn't from exhaustion, it was from comfort. I rested, my head against him, feeling the even rise and fall of his breath beneath me. He shifted, slightly pulling me closer, his arm draped loosely around my waist. I glanced toward the hallway, the couch untouched, still made up like it had been waiting for him. And then I looked back at him, traced my fingers lightly across his chest, and whispered the only thing I needed to. You're staying right here. Sometimes the quiet moments say more than anything else if you were in his place, invited into a moment like that. No words, no expectations. What would you have done? Would you have stayed, or would you have walked away? Be honest, you wish you were. There too, if you were, what would you be doing? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thanks again for watching and for sticking with me.